scientists who scoff at the notion of a soul. Where's the proof? Where's the tangible, physical proof that there is a part of us that lives on after the body dies? Am I really expected to believe something just because books called scriptures tell me I should? Many questions like this. So I would say it's a little surprising that I trace my openness to the idea of a soul, not to any religious tradition, but to scientist and OG science influencer Carl Sagan. Way back in the late 70s on a show on PBS called Cosmos, he walked the audience through a thought experiment often referred to as Flatland Star. Flatland is a two-dimensional world inhabited by flat, two-dimensional beings, imagined shapes on an infinite piece of paper. He told the story of a square that takes a brief, mind-boggling trip outside his flat world into a realm that he had no idea even existed, the world of 3 dimensions. When he comes back to Flatland, he doesn't have the ability to fully process or explain what he has experienced. The minds of Flatlanders, as two-dimensional instruments, were not designed for 3-dimensional thought. The implications are pretty clear. Maybe we, as 3-dimensional beings, are surrounded by higher dimensions, but, like the square, are unable to perceive them. Looking back on the episode, it seems more like an attempt to reconcile science and religion rather than a purely scientific endeavor. And I was struck by how much Dr. Sagan's analogy sounded a lot like the experience of saints, who often describe a sense of awe and wonder when they encounter angels, God, or spirit. What if what is commonly referred to as spiritual experience is really just this, an experience of a higher dimension? What if scriptures are really just our best attempts to communicate these experiences using 3-dimensional words and ideas? But if we are limited to our 3-dimensional minds, how could we ever have a higher dimensional experience, let alone try and communicate it to others? It would only make sense, in my way of thinking, if we are in fact multidimensional beings. This is what I believe the word soul is, an attempt by those who have had experiences like the square in Flatland to describe a part of us that is actually rooted in a higher dimension. It still can't be fully communicated using 3-dimensional words created by a 3-dimensional mind. But it does mean that, at some level of our being, we are all capable of understanding that life is greater and grander than our everyday reality. The concept of the soul has existed for a long time in almost every civilization around the globe, and it has been almost universally described as eternal, i.e. not subject to the beginning and end that the physical body is subject to. In many cultures, the soul is portrayed as a traveler that inhabits many bodies over many lifetimes. This grand spiritual progression, called the journey of the soul, starts in the realm of pure eternal spirit, which then individuates and interacts with what we know as physical reality. Through contact with objects in the lower dimensional universe, we become attached to our vehicles, i.e. our bodies/minds, in this realm. In other words, we forget our higher-level nature and mistakenly believe we are only our physical self. Desires are generally regarded as the glue that binds us to the physical realm. What I find interesting is, why would a higher dimensional being allow itself to get engrossed in a lower dimensional world? I'm not saying it's necessarily the case, but the way we get so engrossed in 2-dimensional experiences like video games and movies strikes me as strangely similar. New souls traveling outward quickly lose consciousness of their connectedness to others. They invariably end up causing pain because, when feelings of separateness predominate within us, we tend to see others as threats that must be neutralized and/or objects which we can selfishly use to fulfill our desires. Old souls traveling back to spiritual awareness tend to be more inclined to help rather than hurt. Their increasing awareness of the soul element within leads them to a greater sense of connectedness. To this end, I would like for you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. There is still much more to discover together about the soul. So, my dear listeners, until next time we meet, my peace and blessings I share with you. Good day.